Easy people, you're going to want to stay tuned to the end of this one because I've got bona fide, genuine proof that manifesting is real because I've just manifested something pretty big. And if I didn't believe in manifesting, I'd say it's fairly unbelievable, but it's absolutely believable. And I've done it via the imagination technique and the visualization technique. So listen in. I have to give you a bit of background. In 2020, early 2020, I was in Antigua, which is a Caribbean island in the West Indies, in the Eastern Caribbean. It's somewhere I'd always wanted to go because we all have our different interpretation and ideas of what paradise looks like. And for me, these tropical islands in the Caribbean is paradise. I was exceptionally lucky and grateful to got the opportunity to go there for a week. The problem was it was the worst time of the last 50 years to go there because this was in early 2020. We all know the world was topsy-turvy back then, but because the trip was planned, I had to go through with it. I wasn't going to abandon it and bail out. So I got there and it was clear that something was wrong. The resort just didn't have a buzz, it didn't have a vibe, it didn't have anything going on. It was fairly empty. It was still beautiful, still spectacular, but there was this negative energy of anxiety and worry and apprehension. And I was doing everything I could to get it out of my head and not thinking about it. But as soon as you go to a bar area or you walk on the beach, the first thing someone would say to you is they'd talk about your flight home. It's like, I've only just got here and already you're talking about my flight home. So it was really anxious and really just unnerving. If you've gone on what you might call a vacation of a lifetime, you want to be enjoying it like it's your only time you're going to go there. And it just wasn't the case. It wasn't as great as I was expecting. And that was just because of the world events going on. I actually ended up getting the last flight off of the island back to the United Kingdom in an evacuation flight, the last chartered flight. It was the busiest flight I've ever been on. And, it was crazy. It's something out of a movie, to be honest. So while I was out there, I met a guy on the beach, a local Antiguan guy. He sold trips and excursions and he was self-employed and, just a local chilled out guy. And we exchanged numbers. I booked a trip through him. But then when I went home, on the last day, he came down to the beach to say goodbye, gave me a hug, and we kept in contact. Every couple of weeks, we'll send each other a message, checking in, how's your family? What's the island like? The same thing that was going on in the Caribbean was going on in Britain, America, Australia, Canada, India, South Africa, Germany, France. It was the same everywhere. So because this guy was self-employed, there was no furlough scheme for him. There was no government handouts. He couldn't just sit at home. And because his trade was exclusively based on tourists, in the space of a couple of days, there were no tourists. The entire island was empty, no tourists at all. I was going through a tough time myself back home in Britain. We didn't know what the future held. I just started a business and I had to close the business. I didn't know where it was heading. I didn't know if I'd made a mistake. I just quit my job and started up a business. And then 2020 comes along. We stayed in contact, send each other messages, ask about everyone. And in the summer of 2020, so about 6 months later, he was in a pretty bad state financially because his house had burned down just before I met him. And he'd lost a family member in that, and he had a couple of kids. I was thinking, do you know what? I'm not doing great myself, but his needs were greater than mine. So I sent him some money, some US dollars. Money goes a lot further out there than it would for me. Although I wouldn't have said no to the money, I knew he needed it more. And we do unto others and we will have do unto us. I wasn't even thinking, oh, well, I'll give him something and the universe will send me something back, because I don't think like that. Like a Jedi, I think inward. I'm not thinking outward, meaning I don't expect something in return. We stayed in touch. He was grateful. And that was it, really. But every night, or at least once a day, I think about that island because it's amazing. And if you've ever been anywhere in the Caribbean or even like Florida and Southeast Asia, anywhere tropical is beautiful. It's God's paradise. And yeah, I think about it when I wake up in the middle of the night. If I can't sleep, I visualize myself being on that beach. I visualize the turquoise water. I visualize the hummingbirds and the tree frogs that you get making the high-pitched noise in the evening and all night, visualize the palm trees, the coconuts, even going through the airport, because it's a really small airport. It's easy to remember. And I'd visualize myself getting off the plane and that humid air hitting me. And, you know, even getting in the transfer to the resort, I remembered it vividly and clearly. So it's something which has been on my mind for 5 years. Every day I think about it, ranging from 10 seconds to a couple of minutes. A couple of days ago, my buddy in Antigua sent me a message and he said, do I want to come out there and stay with him for a week? He's going to give his kids to his grandparent, who's going to look after them. And he said, look, come and stay out there with me for a week, because 5 years ago you sent me some cash and it really helped me out when times were tough. And he wants to repay me. So when I read that message, well, actually it was a voice message that he sends me, because he send each other voice notes on WhatsApp, and just hearing his local Antiguan accent warms my heart and my inner being. And if I hadn't have been sat down, I'd have fallen over when I heard the message. Well, the first thing I thought about was, firstly, I can't believe it. And then when the shock passed, it was, wow, I can believe it. And then it dawned on me, it was like, I've manifested this trip. I've manifested this journey, because the synchronicity, the timing of events, me being there, it being worst vacation you could probably go on because of the world events, getting the evacuation flight off the island, back home, coming back to Britain, and the roads were empty. There was literally nobody out, if you see what I'm saying, worrying about food and what you're going to be eating, and you don't have anything in the cupboard or in the fridge because people have been panic buying everything. The same thing happened over there. And then, you know, to send him this cash and then to keep thinking about going back to the island, and then for him to just send me this message out the blue saying that you can come out here and stay with me for a week. So obviously that's what I'm going to do in early December, mid to early December, for a week. All I've got to do is source the flight, which is not a big deal, fairly expensive. Well, not expensive, but it's 8-9 hour flight. So it's not like just getting a trip from London to Paris or London to Frankfurt or something. So yeah, I'm really excited. But the point of this video is that, firstly, that story I've just told you is bona fide, unquestionable proof of our mind's ability to create a future event. I'd been thinking about going back to that place for the last 5 years. I'd thrown a seed out 5 years ago when I sent this guy some money, because he did need it more than I did. And now for 5 years' time, him and the universe to have boomeranged that back to me, the attraction, it's been thrown out there, and the universe has sent back this invitation to go out and stay with this guy, my buddy. So I'm going to stay with him. Tourists pay one price, locals pay another price, right? It's a bit like a racket when you go to these places, because there's only about 70,000, 80,000, 100,000 people, up to 100,000 people who live on the island. Most people know each other, very family, community orientated place, really lovely, friendly, chilled out, laid back people who work really hard to support themselves and their families. So I'm going back out there. But the reason why I've made this video and the message to you is that if you stay the course, if you keep visualizing, imagining, and immersing yourself mentally as though you're there, if you can feel the sand between your toes, if you can feel that sun beating down on the back of your head, and you can see the tropical fish in the water, using your mind's eye, the universe will deliver that to you. And it doesn't matter what the journey is, just know that you will get there. And that principle can be applied to anything you're trying to manifest, whether it's a specific person, a job, a promotion, moving to another part of wherever you are, moving to another country, starting a business. It doesn't have to be some multi-million pound business. Whenever people think of entrepreneurs, society makes you think that you must be some sort of super billionaire on a yacht and live in a house on the beach. But just having a business could mean earning minimum wage, whatever the minimum wage is where you are, but you don't have to work for somebody else to earn it. You don't have to turn up to work and a boss is there tapping his watch because you've turned up 2 minutes late. ask, go to the bathroom. You don't have to ask, have a day off. Having a business or self-employed, being an entrepreneur doesn't have to mean rolling in cash. It just means being in control of your own life. You can manifest anything you want. And hopefully this story is giving you, well, my experience, this has just happened in the last couple of days, yesterday, that if you keep your mind on an objective, on your desire, the universe will deliver it to you by hook or by crook. It doesn't matter how it sends it to you. It doesn't matter how that ball lands up on your lap. Just know that it will arrive there, and you can achieve whatever it is you dream, whatever you're dreaming about can materialize like a genie coming out of a lamp, but it might be a slow process. You just have to know that it's going to happen. So I'm super excited. Shock's the wrong word, because when you believe, miracles shouldn't stun you, but you have to believe in the first place. And that's the hardest part for most people. So yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait. I need to just organize the flight when I get out there in like 5 or 6 weeks. I'll be making some videos, but I'll be making more videos in between now and then. Remember, folks, manifesting is real. I've just manifested something pretty big, probably the biggest thing I've ever manifested, to be honest with you. And the synchronicity and circumstances surrounding it all, it's just out of this world, but it shouldn't be out of your imagination. If you want to find out more about how this progresses, please like and subscribe. Still excited, folks, but I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.